Okay, so the Reforged test is upon us. And as I'm sure you're aware, the community has been in uproar about the potential introduction of commanders and the removal or the change to the crew skills element of the game. And I'm going to talk you through the issue here and ultimately, Wargaming, please listen to me because this is not a problem with the crew skill system. This is a player problem. So for those of you who are not aware, these are the crew skills here, and you work your way through the light tank to earn these crew skills up to level 7. You have to play medium tanks to earn these crew skills, tank destroyers, excuse me, heavy tanks to get these crew skills, and then tank destroyers to get these crew skills. And as you're working your way through them, they apply to that particular class of tank. But then once you've maxed them out, they then apply to all tanks. So this one here, Hasty Shot, is a light tank skill. Because I've got them maxed out, if I'm playing a tank destroyer, I also benefit from that crew skill. To get the crew skills, you have to earn crew XP, and you will see that to get to level 7, you have to earn 1.1 million crew XP, which means to max all of these out, you need to earn 22 million crew XP. That is how it works. So what's the problem? Okay, it's worth pointing out before I go through this that back when I started playing the game, premium tanks were extremely hard to come by and collector tanks did not exist. So it was much harder for a player to advance to the higher tiers at such a quick rate than it is today, where you can go and buy premium tanks in the store, in crates, in the auction, so on and so forth. So as a consequence, we have newer players, less experienced players, playing at the higher tiers, and as a consequence, the question has been raised about the crew skill system because the tanks that they're using, newer players are finding it harder to get their tanks up to the correct skill level. But unfortunately, I think that's a fault of the player and not a fault of the crew skills system. So let's take a look here. Just done a tier 8 battle. We lost handsomely. And this is the screenshots of every player on my team. And as you can see, this first player, battles at tier 5 and below, adds up to 603 games, which is about 5.7% of their total battle count. The next player has done 1,087 games at tier 5 and below, 4% of their overall battle total. Player 3 has done 782 games, which equates to 8.6% at tier 5 and below. The fourth player, slightly better, just under 13% with 1,227 games at tier 5 and below. Player number 5, 623 games, which is 5.8% of their total. And then this final player, a massive 74 games at tier 5 and below, which is 1.2% of their total battles. And if you include tier 7 and below for this particular player, you will get a massive 523 games. So these players are not taking the time to earn the crew XP required in order to upskill their tanks. And bearing in mind as well, you now have crew XP boosters, which back in the day was also not a thing to help you along. So if we take a look at my stats, yes, I've done 62,000 games, so obviously I'm going to have more games at the lower tiers than the players I've just shown you. That's why I use the percentage method, because my 13,839 games at tier 5 and below equates to 22% of my overall gameplay. So nearly a quarter of my battles have been at tier 5 below, because I spent the time earning the crew XP to upskill those tanks before stepping up into the higher tiers. And in fact, even now, I've got more battles at tier 5 and below than I have at tier 10. So the reason why players are struggling to upskill their tanks is not a fault of the system, it's the player's decision and choice to rush through the tiers to get to the higher tiers and then complain that their tanks are not performing as well as they should do because the crew XP system is far too difficult and earning 22 million XP is just too much trouble. Well, unfortunately, that's the nature of the game. It's called a crew skill for a reason. and that's because a skill needs to be earned and it needs to be learned. So I don't think players should be complaining that the crew XP system is too difficult, because actually all you have to do is spend the time at the lower tiers, put the hard yards in, earn the crew XP, make your tanks perform better, and then you will ultimately perform better at the higher tiers. As a consequence of this player behavior, we are now faced with commanders because, oh, earning crew XP is too difficult, upskilling our tanks is too difficult, and we want everything immediately. And as you can see, there's been an uproar from the community with regards to the commanders, but it all links back to this. That's what I think. Let me know what you think.